personally, my season was a lot like the team. There's always ups and downs in pro hockey, and I think that missing an entire year of hockey from a personal standpoint kind of made the downs a little bit lower in terms of just remembering how to deal with them again and stuff like that. I think you even saw Carey Price, the best goalie in the world, go through it a little bit this year. So I was proud of myself and the way that I was able to battle through those things. And from a team perspective, I mean, what more can you say? You lose, you put yourself in a great position to make the playoffs, and then you, by self-infliction, take yourself out of the playoff race, and then you turn around and get back in the playoffs. I don't think that there's any more that can be said about that. And I was so proud of each and every one of these guys that even when we couldn't like we were struggling to score goals, we were hitting posts, sticks were breaking when we had open nets, stuff like that. There's always the belief, and there's the resiliency and the mental toughness, and I think that showed on the stretch at the end of the year. I was in Calgary for the end of it, but I know that the big chunk that I was able to be here, it was fun to be around, and it was one of the best groups of people, hockey players aside, that I've played with, and in one of the most fun years I've had to come to the rink every day and interact with every one of them. So it was really fun to be a part of.
Did you, going back to your first season where you played a couple games and then obviously you went and had that hip surgery, but was it just the mental thing that was a challenge to get through this season, or was there other challenges as well that you had to overcome?
I think that you have a lot of energy and you have a lot of exuberance to start a year, so I think that the adrenaline and stuff like that kind of masks some of the mistakes I was making just technically in different details of my game. And so when it kind of calms down, you get into the season, and it's just one day after another. The little details that needed refining because I had missed so much time and I was off the ice for 7 months straight, kind of came to light a little bit more. And while they may not have led to any goals or anything like that, it's kind of the way I felt when I was playing, kind of not being confident in a certain situation, knowing that I hadn't worked on that a lot or they didn't feel right or something like that. So I think that was spent a lot of hours on the ice before practice and after practice with Zuli, and really just hammering in repetitions on those details. And I think that it all came together personally for the Grand Rapids game. Right before All-Star break was the first time that, leading up to that point, it had been frustrating because not all of it was coming together. There would be one thing that was good in the game, one thing that just couldn't get to feel right and stuff like that. And then from then on out, I think that it was the confidence level came back and stuff like that, and I think that my play showed that. So yeah, I think that it was a combination of both, but I think it was definitely overall, I think it just kind of affected me a lot more than I thought it was going to. But at the same time, it's not an excuse. I'm not using it as an excuse, and it just meant I had to work harder to get back to the level I knew I was capable of playing at.
Well, you got an opportunity to learn a little bit or pick the brains of quite a few pro goaltenders that have been around a little bit longer than you have. Obviously, with Rittich here and McCollum here at the early parts of the season, you got to play with them, but also getting an opportunity to play alongside Brian Elliott, getting to know a little bit with Chad Johnson, working with Jordan Sigalette, and you mentioned Colin Zulianello. These guys all obviously a part of this elite goaltending consortium here in playing pro hockey and playing in the National Hockey League and coaching in the National Hockey League, the American Hockey League. Did you pick different things from each of those guys to kind of bring into your own game or to your own preparations?
Yeah, yes and no. I learned. You can always learn something from everyone. And if you're not kind of trying to learn something new every day, then it's probably not the best way to approach it. And I think that you start with Ritter. I mean, I've always been a pretty laid back, loose person, but I mean, you won't find someone who loves the game more than that guy, and who always has a smile on his face. And I think that energy is contagious, and it spreads around, and it's really fun to be around. And so that was one of the biggest things I took from him, was just the energy he plays the game with and approaches the game with. And That's why everyone loves him. And then when you got up to Calgary and you always hear about guys, but until you actually meet him, you never know. And I mean, I think the biggest thing I took from Brian Elliott was his work ethic and how he approaches every day like it's his last, and his routine never changes from practice to games and things like that. And that's what's allowed him to be successful for such a long time. And I think that you always hear about those things and people say it to you, but when you see it and you see where it gets someone, I think that helps drive it home even more. And then with Chad, I mean, there's not many more laid back, just nice people in the world than him, and he's the same way as Els with his work ethic and stuff like that. And he just, from a mental standpoint, he's one of the mentally stronger goalies that I've ever seen, with the way he handles and processes information, handles situations, is able to keep the big picture mindset, and not getting a situation, let it get him too down and stuff like that. So I think that I was very lucky this year to learn from a lot of different people, learn a lot of different things.
You have an opportunity now to maybe push for a job with the big club, as the goaltending situation with Calgary is a little uncertain. Does that kind of motivate you going into this summer, as this potentially being a very big summer for you, to show that you're ready and willing to step into a job with the big club?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I showed that this year too. I mean, you can't control when the opportunities come, but you can. The only thing you control is if you can take advantage of it on. And I thought that I was able to do that in my one game that I was fortunate enough to play in this year. So I think that that kind of is the on ice component of showing that I'm capable of playing there. And then off the ice in the summer and stuff like that, it's just about last year was a big step for me. It was the first time I'd really focused in and really dedicated myself to my fitness level. I've always kind of just wanted to skate in the summer and kind of take care of the on-ice component and let the off-ice be what it is. But I really took a big step forward in that regard, and I think that I reaped the benefits of it in terms of just longevity and injury prevention. I mean, besides the fluke finger injury, which has nothing to do with anything besides someone skating into you, that I had no problems this year, which was great, and it was definitely a good feeling. So I want to keep that going and just focus on the step I took last summer and making an even bigger one this year.
How about away from the ice, though? You have a little bit of time here to probably take a break and get away from hockey and training for a little bit. Do you have any fun plans over the course of the summer?
Well, I mean, I have a fun plan for me, and that's my drive home right now, where I'm taking the real long way, and on purpose. So I don't think that'd be fun for anyone else, but it's fun for me. And I'm not a big vacation guy, but I think I'll take my mom camping. She loves her camper more than anything, so we'll do a family trip and a couple of times this year go out on the boat, go on the lake, stuff like that. So I think the biggest thing for me is in the summer I like to get away from it all. There's not pressure, but there's just a lot of it's a business during the year, and that's the atmosphere it is, and people are always watching you. They're watching your move and stuff like that. So when I'm home, I like to kind of get away with the 4 or 5 best friends I've had my whole life, not talk about hockey at all, hang out with my family, and just be thankful for the things in life that truly matter.